Welcome to another episode of Health Hacks, where we break down the latest in functional medicine to help you live your healthiest life. I'm your host, Tara Peterson, and today we're diving into a condition that's not often talked about, but can have a significant impact on those who experience it. So we are talking about alpha-gal syndrome. And for those who do not be familiar with alpha-gal, it is a food allergy to red meat and other products made from mammals, and it's triggered from a bite from the Lone Star tick. So in this episode, we're going to explore the science behind the cause, debunk some common myths, share some statistics that highlight the prevalence in this condition, especially right here where we live in Missouri. We'll also hear from a patient who has navigated this journey and learned how to manage it effectively. All right, so what exactly is alpha-gal? So alpha-gal syndrome, or we may call it AGS for short, is caused by a sugar molecule. This molecule is called alpha-galactose, and it is found in most mammals. So when one of those pesky little Lone Star ticks bites a human, it can transfer the alpha-gal into a person's bloodstream. For reasons that scientists are still studying, some people develop an immune response to the alpha-gal or to the tick bite, and then this leads to a delayed allergic reaction. And this can be primarily from red meat, but also from other mammal products such as dairy and pork. And we're going to really dive into some of those today during this episode. So the symptoms can vary widely. Some people experience hives and stomach pain, and it can be very severe, like an anaphylactic reactions, which can be life-threatening. So one of the challenging aspects that we see for alpha-gal is that the allergic reaction can be delayed for several hours after consuming red meat or other mammal products, and making it difficult to pinpoint the cause for the patient. All right, now let's talk numbers. Alpha-gal is more common than many realize. It's estimated that thousands of people in the United States have alpha-gal syndrome, with the highest concentration in the southeastern state. This is where that pesky little Lone Star tick is most prevalent, but even right here in Missouri, we're right in the heart of alpha-gal territory, and with cases steadily increasing over the years. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about alpha-gal. So let's set the record straight on a few myths. All right, number one, you can outgrow alpha-gal. While some people may experience a decrease in symptoms over time, alpha-gal is a condition that can persist for years, and in some cases, unfortunately, it can be lifelong. All right, myth number two, alpha-gal only affects red meat consumption. The truth is, alpha-gal can cause reactions to other products derived from mammals, such as dairy or even some medications, such as gelatin that is used as a stabilizer. And we're going to learn from our patient how that affected her life today. Myth number three, if you do not live in the southeast, you do not have to worry about alpha-gal. While the Lone Star tick is common in the southeast, its range has been expanding, unfortunately, and in cases of alpha-gal have been reported across the United States, including right here in Missouri. Okay, so to help us understand what it's like to live with alpha-gal, I'm excited to welcome Christy, one of our patients at Thrive, who has been managing alpha-gal for some time now. And Christy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share my story.
Well, let's start at the beginning, Christy. When did you first notice something was off, and what was your reaction?
That is such a great question, because I can go back to the exact day of eating a ribeye steak sandwich for dinner, and that night waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like there was this ache in my bones that was so deep, unlike anything else that I have ever felt. And I thought for sure that this was definitely something that it had to have been terminal. Like, people don't hurt this bad if it's not something really, really, really bad news health-wise. But I felt better the next morning, a little achy and very, very tired. And outside of feeling sluggish and tired and occasional body aches for the next couple of months, I was okay. I just felt off. And then I decided that I obviously knew my body so well. My throat was really, really sore. My body was aching. I could tell that I felt like I had fever, that I must have had strep throat. And so 2 months after that first reaction, I ended up going to urgent care. And while I was in urgent care, I kept insisting that I was running fever at that time because of the deep body aches and headache, and I just was chilled even. And they kept taking my temperature, and I didn't have fever.
Wow.
And then I kept saying, as bad as my throat hurts, I know this is strep throat. Please, 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 will you swab my throat for strep throat? So they did, and it was negative. Test after test after test was negative. And I was one of the fortunate ones that it was just a couple of months after the tick bite. She walked back in and she had asked me, have you had a tick bite recently? I said, yes, 2 months ago I had one, and then I had another one 2 days prior. And she said, I want to test you for a particular tick-borne illness called alpha-gal. And sure enough, it came back positive.
Wow, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it really was.
Experience. Well, walk us through some of your experiences and maybe some trials that you've had after that initial reaction.
So the biggest challenge to me was knowing what I could eat. It felt like nothing was safe because I seemed to be having reactions to all different kinds of things. And at that point, the knowledge was not yet prevalent that it was more than just red meat. Mm-hmm. And so one of my worst anaphylactic reactions, I had gone to the movie theater, ran to use the restroom before popping into the movie, washed my hands with the soap, and went into the movie and was eating what I knew was a 100% alpha-gal safe food, but I was eating it out of my hand. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the movie, it was like delayed a couple of hours, the response. And by the end of the movie, I was in full-fledged anaphylaxis.
Wow.
Yes. And so that's when I started to discover it was more than just red meat. And also the fact that I was getting hives around my wrists all the time. And I also had a reaction where I smelled beef pot roast I had cooked for my family. Yeah. And the gut turmoil was very significant, more than just even like I've got a stomach bug. It was more significant than that. It was very, very painful. So I started to realize that the reactions were also topical and things that I might breathe I was having effects from.
Wow, I know that was really life-changing in the way that you're living your daily life. How did Thrive support you in your journey? And are there any tricks or supplements that you found particularly helpful?
So I got to tell you, Thrive was a game changer, complete and total game changer for me. The team helped me understand things that could be hidden and were causing triggers, gave me tools to help manage my daily life with alpha-gal. Definitely recommended supplements because at that point I didn't realize that, the gelatin caps and things. And so all of the supplements that I had previously taken just for general health, including something simple like vitamin C, and, I didn't realize the gelatin capsule. And so helping me to find the right supplements that were completely alpha-gal friendly, and I didn't have to stress and worry every single time that I consume something, is this going to cause a great reaction or a horrible reaction, And also helped me with reducing the inflammation, because allergic reactions cause inflammation in your body. And so I was able to get control over the body aches and the pain, gut support. There was amazing gut health that I didn't realize, that I was constantly walking around in this discomfort of bloat that was caused from allergic reactions. So doing some very serious gut health, it made a huge difference. One of my favorite tricks that I was taught working with Thrive is keeping a food diary and being able to track what I was eating and what reaction that I had. It's invaluable to track what foods work and what foods don't. So that was a huge, huge thing that I was able to learn, as well as cross-contamination, the importance of how something as little as a glove touching the food and then also touching your food that I shouldn't have and then touching food that I could cause cross-contamination. So definitely made me aware of the certain foods that might trigger a reaction, even though they're not just red meat, which is what I was told by the doctor was, when I was diagnosed, hey, just stay away from red meat, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so it really gave me the education that I needed to be able to feel confident in eating again.
Well, we are excited for you, and I love how you have created this empowerment and love to not just take care of your own body, but just to really share that with others. And so you really are a motivation to us as well as we're partnering together in your health. So
thank you.
Nutrition plays a critical role in the healing process for alpha-gal. And Christy, I'm just curious, what are some foods you've learned are triggers for you? And I know you've made lots of adjustments to your diet. And what I love about Christy is she has this great mindset that even though some things are hard and challenging for her diet, she really understands that the end game in it and understanding and that empowerment. So how are some of these foods that you've learned are triggers?
Well, there's so much more than just having to steer clear of red meat. And so I found that dairy was a really big trigger for me, which is not the case for everyone, but for me, it was a terrible trigger. And that was really sad to have to give up dairy, because not only do I love cheese, I love ice cream, I love yogurt, I love dairy. So I also have to be very careful with processed foods. As you mentioned, like gelatin, it surprised me how much, what is I can't think of the one ingredient, but there's bovine derived ingredients in addition to just gelatin, but they're hidden, like beef tallow. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, or like, did you know even like Cheerios has beef bovine in it, or like grind up bones and many foods that we aren't recognizing until you're walking that journey.
Absolutely. There were so many hidden places. So basically, I have made the adjustment to focus on a whole plant-based type diet. I do still eat chicken, turkey, wild-caught fish. There are specific ones that I've been guided to that don't have extra fillers and things. But I've actually become pretty good at finding delicious alternatives to my favorites, recipes and things. It's become a huge adjustment, but now I just feel like a pro, and I actually feel healthier than I've ever felt in my life. I'm eating better, taking care of myself better, and it makes other things like exercise easier because I'm already eating so healthy. It motivates me in other areas as well.
Yeah, so we love to watch you thrive in your life.
Thank you so much.
Now, Christy, I know that your reaction, the first time that you reacted was really with steak, and you explained your reaction, but you also have other family members that are been exposed to alpha-gal, and so tell me how their reactions were initially different than yours.
Great question. It was very surprising because I assumed that because the reactions were different to mine, that it couldn't possibly be alpha-gal.
Right.
And so they were much longer in finding out their diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
For example, my husband, he just had gut issues. And he still continues this day because he's a little stubborn and doesn't want to eat as strictly as I do. And so he has not had any anaphylactic reactions like I have. He has had just gut turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tends to still eat unreasonably and just know that that's the consequence he has to pay. My daughter ended up being diagnosed with alpha-gal. Years we thought, because she has such a strong sensitivity to adhesives like super glue, the Band-Aids and things, the glue that's in those, we thought that the fact that she was getting this rash on her fingers all of this time, that she must have touched an adhesive.
Right.
Much to our surprise, she had one particular reaction where that rash on her fingers actually spread up her arms a little and led her to an urgent care visit where she was in fact diagnosed with alpha-gal. And so all of her reactions show up as her skin peeling off of her fingers and even blisters all over her fingers. And then I also have a son. Yes, I raised all of my family on a farm where we were all bit by these ticks. We're over here. But my son was completely different to the rest of us, where he ran high fevers, like 104, 105 fever, only at night, accompanied with vomiting. And he had, gut turmoil if it was during the day, but most of his extreme reactions were only at night with high fever and vomiting.
So hard for a mama.
Very hard, especially when you can't imagine that they're all the same effects of a tick bite,
right,
when they're just such diverse reactions. So, yeah, very, very different.
Well, Christy, thank you so much for sharing your story. Your journey is really a testament to the importance of being proactive and informed when it comes to your health for anyone out there who might be struggling with unexplained symptoms. And there's an array of them. It could be like Christy, where she had a food reaction or maybe a rash. Don't hesitate to reach out. So understanding and managing alpha-gal requires the right support, and that's why we're here and why we love to help people here at Thrive. So that's it for today's episode of Health Hacks. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who may benefit from it, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights for functional medicine and holistic health. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay healthy.